Hello, everyone. My name is Manolis Spinorilakis, the founder and producer of Reality Crowd TV, and welcome to Reality Crowd TV's Crowdfunding Office Hours, Episode 11. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We did have a momentary technical difficulty here, but we're on the air, and we have a great show ahead of us. Before we actually begin our show and introduce the guests, I'd like to just go over a few ground rules and a few changes that will be happening in the near future. Many of you who've watched our show week after week have noticed that we changed our name this week to be Crowdfunding Incubator, Crowdfunding Office Hours, Episode 11. The reason why we're doing that is because we quickly realized that this is a great avenue to incubate individuals who are looking to crowdfund, whether they're a startup looking to raise capital to get their business off the ground, or whether they're a creator, an artistic type, who's also looking to raise the capital that they need. So we're about to begin a new phase of Reality Crowd TV where we're going to implement an incubator, and this is really the first time we're announcing some of the changes in the pipeline. So I wanted to put that out there. Additionally, the Showcase application is part of our Google Hangouts, and all of our guests have their links on the side of the Showcase application. So if any of you would like to click on their links and see exactly what their businesses are, you can certainly do that at any time. We will also have an opportunity for a Q&A session, which is done through the Q&A application, and I've just put that on the screen in case anybody also has some questions. So without further ado, we have a full house. I'd love to introduce the guests. Our first guest is one of two individuals from Vancouver. We have Antonio Arias, and his company is Healthy Crowdfunder. And Antonio, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, my name is Antonio Arias, or Tony. You can call me Tony. I come from Vancouver, Canada. I'm the founder and CEO of Healthy Crowdfunder. And what it is, it will be a venture capital funding platform connecting investors and issuers on the health arena. Not big pharma, Tiffany. It's more on the preventative, predictive personalized medicine. So in the absence of Title III, if we launch today, we're going to be focusing on Reg D Rule 506C. So that's it. And welcome, everyone.
Thank you for joining us, Antonio. And you and I, we've been in touch for a while now. We're both passionate about equity crowdfunding and the crowdfunding space in general. So your expertise in this space will definitely help our guests today.
Oh, thank you.
Our next guest is Fabio, and he's also from Vancouver. And Fabio, when you get a moment, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Fabio from Vancouver. I work with Queretsu. Queretsu is a group of angel investors, and I'm here to understand a little bit more from Tony and you guys how you see equity in the future with crowdfunding.
Excellent. Fabio, thank you so much. And again, I love the fact that we continue to be international. The U.S. and Canada continue to be on the forefront of crowdfunding, and it's great to see you both with us. Our next guest is John Jerkowitz, and John has his own show as well, but I'll let him introduce himself to the audience. And John, pleasure to have you on.
Thanks, Manolis. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm John Jerkowitz. I own Jerkowitz Consulting Services. We're a small business development company. We work with businesses under 100 people and also with solopreneurs, helping them find a niche. And I guess the best way to describe what I do is I'm an influencer. I'm the kind of guy that can turn around and say to you, you may say to me, I'm not quite sure where I can find a... And I will tell you, I think I know somebody that might be able to help you with that. Or have you ever done or thought of doing something like this? So that's kind of what my niche is. I do host my own show on Wednesday or Thursday evening. It's called The Career Corner. And I highlight people who are solopreneurs. I highlight people who are looking to change careers or simply people who are looking to enhance their careers.
Wonderful. And John, you know, you and I are part of a virtual networking group called Team, and that's how we met. And thank you so much for joining us as well. It's always great to have you. Great. And then, of course, we have another returning guest. Tiffany should basically become my co-host. I think she's on the show so much. But we we have Tiffany Capone, the founder and CEO of Bebe Pod Pants. And Tiffany, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thanks again for having me, Manolis, and I would love to be your co-host. In addition to being Toybox LLC's CEO and the creator of Bebe Pod Pants, a new innovative new way to dress babies for travel. I'm actually here because I have a crowdfunding campaign that I'd like to launch very soon, and I'd like to get as much information as I possibly can.
Wonderful, and just for the audience, Tiffany also has been on our crowdfunding pitch competition. At present, we actually have the finale going on right now, so voting is actually still occurring, and it's going to close at 8 o'clock Eastern. She is one of the 3 finalists who made it through the weekly competitions to end up at the month end. So, Tiffany, really excited for you, and whoever does win that event does get a free crowdfunding campaign on headfunder.com. So, yeah, hopefully you'll get your wish and end up doing the crowdfunding campaign on their platform. So before we get into, again, kind of the nuts and bolts here, and really, Tiffany, a lot of this should be centered around you since you're looking to do a crowdfunding campaign. But I guess let me ask the audience, or rather, let me ask the guests, what are you looking to get out of today's office hours? And we'll start with you, Tiffany. What are you looking to get out of today? Is there specific questions that you've had for us?
The main question was about the equity crowdfunding. There's very limited information about it out on the internet. I mean, you have everything about the rewards, but being an organized business, having an organized business model, I'd like to know how I can incorporate the other side as opposed to just the reward perks.
Excellent. So that's a great topic we can talk about. We have a lot of good. Antonio Arias has a lot of knowledge there, so that's great that we have him with us. So okay, so we got the equity crowdfunding. John, is there something you'd like to get out of today's show as well? Any specific things you'd like us to cover?
Yeah, in 61 years of life, there's very few things I haven't done. This is one of them. I recently published an ebook that I would like to explore getting some funding for to publish in hardback and paperback. And I'm kind of here today more to listen than anything else and get some thoughts and ideas from people. I'm really excited about it, and that's why I'm here.
Excellent, John. And yes, as far as authors are concerned and crowdfunding for books or ebooks, that's a proven model. There's many websites that do it. One off the top of my head, pubslush.com, is specifically for authors, but we can get into more specifics in a short time. So really, how do you crowdfund for authors? That's a great topic to hit upon. Okay. And then Fabio, what would you like to get out of today's show?
My goal is to develop connections and also create awareness of the investment industry. There's a big gap between what startups need and what angels are looking for. So hopefully, being a part of a group of investors, I can create a little bit more of awareness and try to understand from your perspective what you guys are expecting from the equity crowdfunding that is not yet there, but it's going to be coming soon, and it's going to disrupt a lot of the structures that we have today. Having said that, the entrepreneur needs to be ready to face the requirements that investors will have. It's not like making a Kickstarter campaign. There's a lot of financial reporting, due diligence, the way you prepare your legal documents that you have to be ready to face. So hopefully I can add a little bit on that note and hear your perspective too.
Excellent. We'll definitely hit upon that. There's a lot of interesting things going on in that realm right now. There's actually a lot of political fighting right now as far as equity crowdfunding is concerned too. So we'll touch upon really where it is and where it's going and what's needed to get it fully implemented. And finally, Antonio, for you, what would you like to? I know you're the equity crowdfunding expert, but what would you like to get out of this hangout as well?
Well, to tell you honestly, I like your most recent interview with Ann Nyberg, and with all this delay on Title III, I see a lot of people disappear who wanted to get involved in the crowdfunding industry, and I like your answers to Ann Nyberg, and I thought this is a guy who's really serious about going all the way until Title III is passed. So I'm one of your fans.
Absolutely, Antonio. Well, there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing together in the future. The passion we both share for this movement is just, it's there. It's about to be one of the most amazing transformations in finance since the Great Depression, really.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so to bring people up to speed too, I always like showing a particular video by the White House, and I think it's fair that we should do that because a lot of our audience members may not understand that there's something other than Kickstarter and Indiegogo in the works. There's equity crowdfunding, and that's coming up really soon. Some of it is already implemented. Other parts of the Crowdfunding Act will be implemented shortly. But let me just pull up a video here that will really give everyone a great understanding of where we are. So let me pull that up on my screen. We'll go right here. And this video was done by the White House, and it really explains what the equity crowdfunding is, and it explains that the 2012 Jobs Act is what is allowing for individuals to actually invest in private companies through crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding is a concept that's been around for a long time. It's the idea of passing around the basket at church in its oldest incarnation, of a large crowd of people being able to contribute small amounts, which in aggregate meet the financial goal of any organization, group, or individual. And so when you look at crowdfunding and how it's evolved, the reason it's become a buzzword recently is because it's gone online, so the potential of it has expanded exponentially. The crowdfunding bill is important for small businesses because it creates access to capital. Access to capital that currently is very hard to come by. The basic concept of this will mean for entrepreneurs and investors is that an entrepreneur will post a description, a very thorough description of their business, the finances, the business plan, what they're going to do with the money, the budget, etc. And they're going to be able to share this opportunity with anyone they so choose. Most likely it'll be their customers, friends and family, might be Twitter followers, people who share an affiliation with them they think might be interested, etc. The investor will then pledge a certain amount of capital if they want to invest. If the fundraising goal is met for how much money that entrepreneur is looking for, then the money will transfer to the entrepreneur. So it's an all or nothing arrangement. What I hope that America will now see is that after the SEC rulemaking period is done on the crowdfunding bill, approximately 9 months from now, and platforms can be created and launched that allow for crowdfunding, that entrepreneurs who currently feel like funding is a roadblock to them achieving their success can now have the opportunity to succeed. I strongly believe that crowdfunding is not just for high-tech businesses. I, in fact, think that the majority of people are going to be using this in the long run. The majority of businesses in the country are small businesses, and that's who can really take advantage of this.
So as you can see, there's a whole new set of crowdfunding that is out and about, and I'm really going to give Antonio a chance to explain really what Title III is, because that's what really everyone's waiting for. I will kind of do a little level set where the 2012 Jobs Act was passed as a result of the immense success in the rewards and donation-based crowdfunding. Since 2009, for instance, in 2009 when crowdfunding started with the rewards and donations, it raised about $1 billion, which is a huge sum of money. Flash forward to 2013, crowdfunding has raised $5.1 billion a year annually now. In 2014, it's projected to be $7.1 billion. So the government passed this law in 2012. It was one of the most bipartisan acts. Both the Congress, the Senate, and the President signed it into law. And since then, they've been implementing 3 specific provisions within the law that is allowing for equity and debt-based crowdfunding. The only one that's been implemented is Title II, equity crowdfunding. And so equity crowdfunding allows for wealthy investors, those who are known as accredited, who make $200,000 a year or are worth $1 million in net worth. Those individuals can invest in private companies via crowdfunding. As a startup company looking for capital, you can bring your startup to any of these portals to receive funding, but you cannot physically invest in any of these startup opportunities. But what the really exciting piece is Title III crowdfunding and Title IV crowdfunding, which will soon allow for anyone, regardless of income, to invest in a private company. So you don't have to meet these wealthy income criteria anymore. As soon as this is finalized by the Securities and Exchange Commission, we will be seeing anyone, regardless of income, being able to invest in a private company. So Antonio, can you give us a little summary of Title III? Kind of give us where you see it at currently, where it needs to go to get implemented. Why are you excited about it? Just give us a little information there.
Okay, right now with Title II, all it's meant is to tap onto accredited investors, and the accredited investors is kind of a limited number of investors out there. But with Title III, I call it, it's like reinventing the stock market or reinventing the capital markets again, because when that gets implemented, that means non-accredited investors could come in, and that will scale the business. So that's one of the reasons why I observe a lot of companies who's wanting to get into crowdfunding operation has started to disappear. Who knows when will this be implemented? To tell you honestly, coming from the corporate world as CFO of public companies, I'm not that super keen on getting the crowd involved until they get educated first. And I keep telling, I've hosted a couple of meetups in Vancouver, I keep telling everybody, investment in equity is buying a share of the business or ownership of the company. Investors don't come into the equity crowdfunding with the intention of trading or selling their interest or their equity interests in such a short time. You know, it takes about 3 to 5 years to build a startup company. The crowd needs to be educated, and I believe that's what's the concern of the SEC as well. How do you get the crowd educated? And that's why they're always emphasizing that broker-dealers have got to be involved to ensure that the KYC, KYP procedures are followed. KYC, know your client, and KYP, know your products. So where is it going? Who knows? All I could see, some of the broker-dealers in the U.S. are starting to form their own crowdfunding platform, like Microventures is one of them. ShareSpost, as you know, has merged with NASDAQ OMX. In Canada, we have the TMX setting up a private company exchange. There's another company called Equitas Innovations who's setting up a private company exchange, as well as a stock exchange that discourages high-frequency trading. So there's a lot of things going on in the background right now.
Absolutely. And you know, you're right. For a long time, the press about the Title III crowdfunding, which is the crowdfunding that allows for anyone, regardless of income, to invest in a private company, there's been a lot of concerns about it, and so the narrative in the press, due to interests who do not want to see this succeed, has been very negative, because everyone believes that if you allow people who are not wealthy to invest in private companies, they're going to get defrauded. That's the main narrative in the media at the moment. But also assumes that just because you have a certain amount of wealth means that you're more educated than someone else. In some cases, that is likely true, but there are certain individuals who are, maybe they're accountants or maybe they're small business owners who are savvy enough to know a good investment, who are being penalized and not able to essentially invest in a lucrative investment. So what's been happening behind the scenes, and I'm sure Tiffany and John, you guys might have some questions soon, but I want to show you what's been happening in the U.S. to get the government to actually move on this. So if you guys see my screen, this is the Securities and Exchange Commission website. And what's happening on this website is, just recently, there's been a huge push to ask the Securities and Exchange Commission to release the rules on Title III crowdfunding. To give you a little background, these proposed rules came out on October 23rd, 2013. It's the sole reason why I got extremely excited about crowdfunding and why we created Reality Crowd TV in the first place. They gave the general public 2 to 3 months to comment on these rules, and on February 3rd, that is when the comment period ended. So when it comes to legislation and it comes to this regulation, they give the public some time to comment on it, but after the comment period ended on February 3rd, they need to act on the comments and they have to issue finalized rules. When they issue the finalized rules, that is when startups, that is when investors can begin to raise capital through this type of crowdfunding. So for months, nothing happened, right? For months on end, nothing was happening. You know, everyone was saying, yeah, we'll get to it, we'll get to it. News kept getting really bad. And then, you know, what started happening recently, and it was really as a result of the trade group CIFRA, which is really the industry trade group, but it was also due to this gentleman, Ron Miller from Start Engine. He organized a very good effort to begin to ask people to start submitting comments. And as you can see, that's when I got inspired. I submitted a comment here, and I just wrote exactly what we're trying to do, and I said, you guys need to release the rules. Why am I showing everyone this right now? Because since this date, look how many comments have been brought. There is a flurry of comments urging the Securities and Exchange Commission to actually, you know, release the rules here on Title III crowdfunding. And why am I showing you guys on the panel and you guys on air? Because I want you to go to this website, read what other people have said, and personalize a message to say, we want this, we want the ability to either raise capital from our startups, or we actually want to be able to invest in private companies through crowdfunding. And the Securities and Exchange Commission, you know, God bless them, but they've had a lot of time. It's time to implement this, and they're dealing with a lot of political issues that are causing them to reconsider. And if the American public doesn't say anything, then there's a real chance that Title III crowdfunding may never pass. There's a real chance that these startup companies and investors and these companies who would hire employees as a result of the money raised, there's a good chance that if they don't act now, we might never see this. And that would be a terrible thing to happen for the small business community. And so I'm just trying to get the point across that there needs to be something done. So I want to open it up to questions. Tiffany, do you have any questions or comments?
No, it seems like there's a lot going on with this Title III. When do you think it will be successful? When do you think we'll be heard? You know, in reference to that.
Well, from what I understand, there is a federal website that the government publishes called the Register. I think it's called the Federal Register. And actually, Title III crowdfunding is on the docket for October of this year. But just because it's on the docket doesn't mean it's going to be spoken about. So that is why the need to submit comment letters to the SEC is so critical at the moment, because if they continue to see a flurry of these letters coming in, then it'll basically mean for them that they got to do something. They have to actually do something here because the public wants it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. John, any questions on your end?
No questions, just a comment, Manolis. I think the more you educate people, the more people are aware, and I wasn't aware of any of this till just 5 minutes ago. So if I'm not aware of it, I can quite imagine how many other people out there who would be willing to take advantage of this opportunity on one side of the coin or the other really need to know this stuff.
They do, John, because, I mean, think of it. Think what crowdfunding is doing for people, even on the donation and rewards-based side. If they got declined by, don't have a relationship with a venture capitalist or a wealthy individual, then most people give up on their dreams because of those two scenarios. They frankly think, okay, I don't have the money, so now I unfortunately cannot follow my dream. Like my dream is over, essentially. Or maybe they just wait a while longer before they actually execute on it because they're not willing to compromise, so they'll save up the money and do it eventually. But, you know, this is an amazing movement, and there are certain companies that will do well with donation in exchange for reward, but other companies might not do so well, and so they need this option of equity crowdfunding because they just don't have a fancy trinket that would make people want to contribute. So, you know, and Tony, I'll have you jump in. Like, were you aware of all this, like as far as the comment letter flurry recently?
I'm very much aware of it. I somewhat kind of given up on Title III. I'm not really bullish on it. I shouldn't say that in a negative way. The fact that Title II has been passed, Reg D Rule 506C, it gives entrepreneurs an opportunity to tap on accredited, but that means you have to have a sharper value proposition. For any of you who is familiar with Steve Blank's business model canvas or Eric Rice, I highly recommend when you're about to launch your startup to at least follow the Steve Blank's business model canvas, particularly the blocks that's connected with customer discovery, customer development. And in the absence of Title III, if your product, this is a question I need to ask Tiffany, if your product is amenable to pre-sales crowdfunding, I recommend you go to Indiegogo. One example I was going to cite is Scanadu. Scanadu, they tried to raise about $100,000, and they end up getting 1.6 from contributions or from contributors at Indiegogo. And then 12 months later, the venture capitalists step in, and they injected or led the financing of Series A preferred up to $10 million. So I view Indiegogo as a good marketing platform if the startup is involved in hardware or something that's tangible, something that could easily be related to consumers or consumer products. Okay. So at least there's certain parts that works out there, like it would be a hybrid of pre-sales crowdfunding with the intention of going to equity subject to a successful pre-sales. Am I making sense, Tiffany?
Yeah.
I think it would be good if Tiffany could explain exactly what her value proposition is or what she plans to do with her startup. What's the product or what's the pain that you're trying to solve, and how will that make a difference? Because not everything will be equity fundable, whether crowdfunding is here or not.
Okay. Well, my product is definitely a consumer-based product. It appeals to the juvenile product market. It is for infants. There's a patent pending on it. It has been tested and proven in the market, so I've done my market analysis. I am about a year and a half in, and it's an innovative new way to dress infants for travel. So bringing it to the market, I filled my own need, and again, like I said, did the market analysis, and a lot of people wanted it. You know, so at this point, I just need to continue my marketing to get it out to the masses. So that's basically the situation.
That's good. Have you looked at the Indiegogo marketing guide?
No, I haven't. I have to be honest with you. I've been doing the research on Indiegogo versus Kickstarter, and Kickstarter seems to be the one that's making all the noise right now. You know. But then they have the all or nothing marketing platform, you know. But Indiegogo, I really don't know much about Indiegogo either. So.
Okay. Well, the only reason I talk about Indiegogo is we partnered up with them, and Indiegogo is more accommodating to the health sector compared to Kickstarter.
Huh.
So that's my bias.
Oh, okay.
And actually, Tiffany, would you be able to show us one of your videos about your product too? Because that'll also give, I think when people see the product, we'll know rather quickly if equity or donation exchange for reward is better for you. So if you could share your screen, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, I have now two. Well, the last one I did for my pitch was actually I did the voiceover live. So I don't think I can do that right now. But I have the commercial, or I have an explainer video as well. Which one would you think would be the best one?
You know what, the explainer video might be good.
Okay. Yeah, let me get that.
Sure. Okay. And yeah, I mean, so I agree with you. It really, you know, picking a platform is very important. But I'll tell you this. the noise is around those two platforms, right? But the smaller platforms, people dismiss them, but they shouldn't, because ultimately the only real benefit you get from an Indiegogo and a Kickstarter is when you're selected as one of the staff picks, or you're on the front page in your category. But the only way you do that anyways is by the work that you as an individual drive to the website. All the traffic that comes initially to get you that initial funding, the 30% of your funding within the first week seems to be the magic number. All the work that is done there is not driven by Indiegogo or Kickstarter, because they don't do anything to promote you. You have to bring all these people, organize them in a very good fashion, and have them be part of your crowd to get you to that level of funding. So that's the misconception. I wouldn't dismiss the other platforms. In fact, a lot of the other platforms are niche, or they offer something unique and different, and that's why the misconception is, great idea one day, I just put it on Kickstarter a week later and I'm funded. That's completely false. So Tiffany, do you have your video ready?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Let me go ahead and get that up for you.
All right, you're ready to go as soon as you have it.
Okay.
All right, we see it.
Hi, I'm Tiffany, creator of Bebe Pod Pants, the unique and functional clothing alternative to infant pants, socks, and shoes. Designed for babies and used when traveling in an infant car seat or stroller. Using Bebe Pod Pants is easy. One leg at a time, slide the pod over baby's legs up to the waist, like pants. Place the baby in an infant car seat or stroller. Feed the lower buckle through the exclusively designed quick buckle access lock. And finally, engage the shoulder harnesses to the buckle. Now, how easy was that? Baby is dressed from waist to toe with one garment instead of 3, and ready to go. Not intended to replace ordinary baby clothing, Bebe Pod Pants will easily become a go-to quick dress item when traveling with baby.
Wonderful, Tiffany. That was great. I've never seen that video before, but it does a great job of explaining what your product is. And Antonio, I mean, I don't know about you, but to me, I think her product is perfect for the rewards-based crowdfunding as opposed to equity, at least at this point in the game.
Absolutely. It looks like it could be pre-sales or rewards. The transmission of the line is kind of spotty from my end. Every now and then it gets cut off. But I'd like to see it, offline, maybe much later. But I highly recommend, Tiffany, if you look at the Indiegogo Field Marketing Guide. I just want to comment on Manoli's comment earlier. The first 30% of your contributions are going to be coming from your friends and family. And when you host your pre-marketing event, your inner circle of friends and family, what I call the first degree, should also have their own connections, which I call the second degree. And when you host a pre-marketing event, who knows, it could take a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on how far you are to that target 30%. And until you get there, it's really difficult to decide whether you launch or not. So with Indiegogo, if you're able to attract your first degree and second degree, the platform itself will attract the third degree connections. So I recommend you look at Indiegogo and Kickstarter to see where your potential third degree connections might be coming from. At the same time, start using social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and start marketing along with your friends and families, and see what sort of stickiness you get out there. In fact, you'll be doing your test marketing before you even go to a Kickstarter or Indiegogo. That's really the first steps. And you got to tell everyone you have to input at 30%. Until you get some sort of confidence you're going to reach the 30%, then you can't even decide whether that 30% connection will be able to convince their second degree or your second degree connection. Make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. Yes, it does. And I've been definitely...
It's like running for office.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's like running for public office. You campaign out there.
Well, yeah, like I said, I've been very active on social media, and you know, I attempted. Manolis didn't let you know this, but I attempted a crowdfunding campaign about a year ago when I first launched my product, and it definitely didn't do very well, because I didn't do that pre-work that I've been doing, for this past year. So I'm definitely primed and ready for a new campaign now.
Right. Have you hosted what I call offline campaigns, like meetups or private parties? Have you done that so far?
No, actually I have not. But I definitely was planning on it. I wanted to do a mommy and me meetup kind of thing with for new parents. So that's something that I've been thinking about doing.
That's right. Like going back to the Tupperware party.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. We can't get away from those.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's actually a good transition too, because I think too what a lot of people, when they begin a campaign, it's the relationships, right? So Tiffany, you're a master of relationships. Like I see you on social media. You're building relationships with the people who are really going to help you when the time comes. But also, it's even building relationship with your customers when the time comes. I mean, a lot of us, we network with the crowdfunding crowd, right?
Yes.
But those aren't necessarily the people who are going to buy your product, Bebe Pod Pants. So Antonio made a good point. The live events, the things you do outside of social media as well, the getting in front of the customer who actually wants what you have is probably the more important thing from an actual getting people to contribute perspective, because a lot of the people, a lot of people on social media, they may want to help you and share, but they might not be the ones to actually buy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, and so are you actually, and this is another question, on social media, are you talking directly with potential buyers of your product too?
Yes. Yes, I'm very much engaged with my potential customers. I have a very huge relationship with lots of bloggers, mommy bloggers, power influencers in the niche as well. My PR is specifically in the niche that I'm in, Baby Swag's PR and celebrity gifting. She's been in the game since 2006, Phyllis Pometta. So I'm definitely aligning myself with the right people. Like I said, to get to where I am right now, it's been a year, and we're ready. We're definitely ready now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could see it. I could see the momentum you've built in the short time that we've known each other. I've seen so much momentum for Bebe Podpin, so 100% agree. And actually, you know what? Fabio and John have been quiet. Any questions or comments for the both of you, Fabio or John?
Yeah. One. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Tony made a very valid point, and this is something that we see a lot of times when we talk to entrepreneurs to see if we are going to invest or not on them, is the discovery phase of your customer interaction is probably the most important thing for you to understand how you're going to touch them and how you're going to create those links. And if you think about raising equity, the more you do that, the more information you have, the more you are aware of your customer acquisition cost, your distribution cost, and how you can turn each dollar that you get into 4 or 5 in revenue, the more you get from your company. So all the hard work that you're putting out, if you delay the moment of going to look for equity, it's basically coming, to help you. So take the time to do that, and that's the right track. And it does take a lot of sweat equity. It does take a lot of time, but that's part of understanding where you are, your costs, and once you go to raise equity, either using a crowdfunding platform down the road, or traditionally reaching out to angel investors, or using the institution that I represent, Keiretsu, it's the doors will be open for you. So yeah.
Absolutely, Fabio. You said it right. I mean, even in a crowdfunding campaign too, not only does a business require sweat equity just to make sales in its normal course of business, but crowdfunding requires that sweat equity. In fact, it's really that sweat equity that's going to get the actual funding funded for that company, and that's why what we recommend is at least 3 to 6 months of buildup. For our own selves, we're noticing that we need even more than that, because ultimately, you can have a vision for how you want your campaign to go, and you could put a plan in place, and then you come to the hard truth to say, if I execute it in this capacity, there's no doubt that it's going to be successful, but the hard truth becomes, do I have the manpower? Do I have the time? Am I able to get more people to help me on this campaign? And that's where this little uncertainty comes in crowdfunding, is when is the right time to launch? Everyone's going to have their opinion on when you should launch. They're going to say, why haven't you launched yet? Or, don't launch yet, or your video's not good enough, or this is not good enough. But ultimately, there comes this point where you just have to pull the trigger yourself and make that decision. So you're right, Fabio. You mentioned something very important, that all this is needed in order to bring your company to the next level. And John, you were going to mention something?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm taking this all in. I've got 4 pages of notes, so this has been very beneficial to me. The one point I do want to hit on is I've been an entrepreneur for going on 15 years, and I really embrace what you just got done saying about when is the time to involve other people in what you're doing. And one of the things I've found through some of my own missteps is that waiting too long and not getting ready to grab hold of the opportunity passes you by, and then you can't catch up to get it. And I thought that was a really, really good point.
You're right. You're very right on that, because I mean, there's a benefit to being a first mover in something. So if you continue to stall or delay, then you lose that first mover advantage. So no, thank you, John. So question for you, actually, John. Let's hit upon what you're doing. Tell us about the ebook that you just published, and we can try to see if we can help you with something applicable to crowdfunding in that.
Well, I think you've probably heard part of this story before. All of you have. For years and years, people said to me, you ought to write a book. And the book is based really on 40 years of experience and knowledge of dealing with people in the workplace, watching the people that became successful, and then watching the people who could have really been successful and took a really big left turn and just fell off the cliff. The book's called These 3 Things, A Guide to Success and Happiness. And the easiest and shortest way to explain to you what the book's about is to share just a little story with you from the book. I have a colleague in New York City who is a fashion consultant. As a matter of fact, she just finished helping someone prepare for a 6-month trip to Europe. And so she attends all the Fashion Week shows, knows all those people you and I watch on TV. And she and I were talking one day, and I said, gosh, what's the best advice you give to the people you work with? And this was her answer. Be your first and best client. And you know, that kind of really just pulled everything together for me. The three things the book talks about to be successful is that, first of all, you deserve success. Second of all, you're worth all the effort you invest in yourself. And that was really important to me because I kind of have a bit of a prejudice against self-help books. It's kind of like read 10 pages, sprinkle fairy dust on yourself, put your arms around everybody, and sing We Are the World. If you've been in business long enough, you know it just don't work that way. There's a lot of hard work, and that chapter really evolves around something Winston Churchill once said: if you're going through hell, just keep going. And Tiffany, I see you. Yeah, been there, done that. The third chapter is, and I think is equally important, you are who you hang around with. You know, if you're with people in this genre, like I told you, I got 3 pages of notes here, just on stuff that people say, how does that apply to your business and industry? It does. Okay. That's kind of basically the book. It's 80 pages long. Of course, my wife was the first person to buy it, and she read it in about 2 hours, which is exactly what I was shooting for. As I was going through getting some people to proof it and everything else, they said, hey, you know, once this thing gets some traction as an ebook, you really need to look at publishing it in a hard copy format. And the issue I have with there right now is I don't have the capital to do that. Okay, I've looked at a number of different venues and everything else, and you know, Manolis, when you talked a little bit about the team referral network, when you and I were in a team meeting Tuesday, we talked about this a little bit. Maybe simply just being here with you this morning perks somebody in your audience to say, hey, I might want to get involved in something like that. I'm not a writer, they might say, but gee, I've always wanted to be involved with getting this whole thing going. So I hope that made sense.
It did. It did, okay. Actually. And actually, so you're selling your ebook, I think, for about 99 cents. Is that right?
That's correct. Another team member of ours who is a project manager, actually, Bethany Stevenson, she actually advised me on putting this whole thing together, and she said to me, if you want to gain some real traction, make it affordable to everybody. And as the book gains popularity, you can raise your price, bump it up a little bit to $1.50, $1.99. But what you want to do initially is get as much traction out there as you can. And everybody can afford 99 cents. I hope.
Absolutely. And actually, here's another question, too. You said you can't afford to do it in hardcover at the moment, but how much would that cost you to get it to hardcover? How much is the cost of the hardcover publishing?
Well, it depends what route I went, Manolis. There is the pay-per copy, okay, where I submit the book. You go online and you want a hard copy. I'm going to pay anywhere from 75 cents to $3 a copy to have it printed. Okay. There's a minimum of a $500 charge for that you have to pay up front. So if I charge $2 for one of those books, I'd have to sell 250 books just to break even. Now there's the general self-publishing route. And I'm going to throw a name out there just because I've read a little, Balboa Press. Okay, Balboa will take your book, and for $7,000, they will market it till the cow. Yeah, Tiffany, my eyes did the same thing. Market it till the cows come home, and if you gain enough traction, they'll refund your money, and then they will market it and pay you about a 30% residual on it. Okay. Where I'm at right now is trying to decide what route do I need to go, okay? And I'm going to be honest with you. This whole authorship deal, the fun part was writing the book, okay? That was the fun part. the ins and outs, the marketing, everything else. One of the things I chose to do on Kindle was only take the 30% residual. By doing that, they would market it worldwide. If I took the 70% residual, they'd only market it in the United States and Canada. I guess what I'm saying is I'm gathering a lot of data right now. It looks like the least this is going to cost me is about $5,000. The most this is going to cost me is about $8,000.
Okay. So
Okay?
I'm really happy that this is being recorded, because everything that we just went through, this series of questions, that will be exactly to articulate in a crowdfunding campaign profile. You literally, everything that you answered is what people need to know if they wanted to back you in a crowdfunding campaign. So as I go into this, I want to just show you this portal, pubslush.com, because they are 100% a niche just for authors. And so they have a lot of services here. They have a community for authors, for readers. They also have publishers network here. They have industry professionals. So you could find just about anything you need from a author perspective here. So, you know, you have, let's just pick a random one here. They have, let's just find this one here. You know, what you would need.
What is
what you would need, John, is you would have to be able to, you know, again, articulate how much funding you need, create a video, and then you basically everything. You know, why do I need your help? All that information that we talked about just now is needed. But here's the beautiful thing. I know that you're currently marketing your book now, and you're looking to sell it now, and you should, right? But maybe while you sell it one-on-one and individually, instead of maybe having someone buy it right this second, you might even want to create this marketing platform as a way to really launch your book through a crowdfunding campaign. But instead of, you know, going one by one and asking people to buy it now, what you could enlist a group of ambassadors over a 3-month period, that when the time comes for you to launch your own crowdfunding campaign, that's when you say, listen, don't buy the book now, wait a second, and also let me take you down this journey with me. Let me ask you to help me. Let me line up interviews on Google+. Let me line up bloggers and journalists to write about me right when I launch. And you can just have this campaign with a nice video that you'll have to create, kind of showing your personal side, all this copy laid out, but at least you're doing it with a plan, a marketing plan, as opposed to, and I'm not saying you don't have a plan now, but as opposed to just one by one, it'd be nice for you to kind of organize it in a fashion that gets you the most bang for your buck.
Thank you. And I agree with you 150%. It's kind of one of those things where I knew all that, except it wasn't all on one desk. It was spread out through 15 rooms. So pulling it all together, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And that makes real good sense, too.
Sure. And I mean, really, it's, I mean, even if you didn't even run a crowdfunding campaign, you should still do that anyways. Like, just rally, you know, create like a rallying cry where on a specific date, everyone shares something at the same time, or they continue to be enlisted with you, and there's a story there. The story of you and your years of experience and the book that you're creating and why you need the capital, all of that is not necessarily clear for a lot of businesses, and that's why crowdfunding is so important, because it makes it very clear. You see the whole story in one page.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that pub slush was the very first thing I wrote down when you started. So I've got it.
I can introduce you directly to the founders of that company. They're so nice. It's a mother-daughter duo, and we've had an interview with them at times offline, and just great people. So I'd be happy to connect you with them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Any other advice for John before we move on to our next topic?
Hey, John.
Hey.
You said that you have someone on your team that's a project manager, right?
Yeah, someone I kind of barter with.
Okay, so would this person be open to working with you from a project management perspective and help you with putting together a project charter, setting up milestones, deliverables, and working with you into making your release a project and then taking this from a real project management approach?
Yes, we've talked about it. She is full up right now with clients. And so what I'm doing is kind of sitting there on the back burner with her. She was kind enough to give me about a half hour of her time a little while ago to talk about putting some of this out from an ebook perspective. I'm kind of treading water there. I think that's a great suggestion. She's going to agree to work with me when her schedule fills up or loosens up, and I really appreciate that, because I know a lot of people who will say to you, sure, I'll work with you, and they've got so much on their plate that it doesn't work out real well. So I have looked at that, and I appreciate the input.
Thank you.
And I mean, John, you might also say, you know, even if you don't, actually, it would apply to crowdfunding too, but even right this second, if you were to find a marketing partner and offered sort of an affiliate agreement that if they ended up selling a certain amount and there was a way to track that, I'm not sure how Amazon works, but if I'd imagine that if someone sells a book with their unique referral link, they would then get a piece of whatever the sale was. So you might want to come up with a strategy on that too.
Part of actually, that was one of the motivators to take it off the ebook platform and put it into the hands-on platform. I know a couple people who very successfully said, oh, for example, Manolis, let me come and speak at your event, and I'd like the opportunity to be able to sell my book, and if you allow me to do that, I'll give you 30% of what I make that day, simply because you're giving me the platform to sell my book. So that was one of the motivators for me to think about transferring it. But the affiliate idea is really great.
I believe, you know, I'm not too savvy with Amazon, but I mean, does anyone else know? I'm pretty sure they have an affiliate program, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And I am a member of that
Hello,
program.
Antonio? Oh, you are?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
yes, they do. Yeah. I have a question for John. John, do you do blogging about your services?
Yes, I do.
And how many subscribers or fans do you have on your blog site?
I'm going to say about 25, between 25 and 30.
Because that's really your test marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you give tidbits of the contents of your book through your blogging, and when you start seeing more people coming in to subscribe to your blog, that's an indication there's some interest. And with this 25 people who have indicated interest, you might want to communicate with them and ask them what makes them interested. You know, you're providing a service. It's good to describe to your target audience how they're going to benefit by subscribing to your blog, and as soon as you get some traction in your blogging, you probably introduce your book from that point on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Now I got 7 pages of notes.
There you go. Love it. So, you know, I'd like to move on to another topic, actually, and, you know, Antonio, I think we were talking about this the other day, that, you know, crowdfunding in general, right? We obviously see that through just the many people that we speak with on Reality Crowd TV and we interact with. You know, we did our tour, we saw a lot of people, and really in the 8 months that we've been doing this, we've noticed that the awareness, the education, the affordable help is really not there. It's just, you know, it's either someone has to do it themselves or someone has to pay like $10,000 to run a campaign. How do you feel that could potentially be solved? Like, do you have any ideas there, Antonio?
Which part are you talking about? The affordable health or the campaign?
I guess just the affordable help, or even, you know, what resources are out there to help people? What practical resources are out there that we can share with our audience? Because I think a lot of people want to do this, but they don't have a huge budget. And you know, the fact of the matter is, crowdfunding does take time, sure, and in some cases it takes capital to market it as well. But if they don't have the capital, what can they do with their time that would make them more successful?
Well, to answer your question, let me focus on the business of John and Tiffany. When you're raising capital, it's really a sales job, and it's an opportunity to test whether, you know, what you're trying to sell is attracted to your target audience. One technique you could use is to recruit a sales team, and then from there as well, your sales team, you do brainstorming sessions with them, and ask what could attract your potential target investor or target customer to come in. And sometimes a lot of CEOs or founders, they tend to operate by themselves in isolation with other people. I think it's a good time to test your ideas by recruiting a team. In fact, I'm doing that myself, you know, leading towards the launch of Healthy Crowdfunder.
Absolutely. And absolutely, and actually, Antonio, maybe this is a good time to talk about Healthy Crowdfunder as well. I know that on your website there's a video. Is that something that we could play?
Sure, you could play that. It's kind of dated.
Sure, I could, and if it's not too long either, I'll just play it, and maybe we'll play an excerpt just so that people can understand what's going on this website. But do you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right.
You could play just a short while and then explain the reason behind it.
Perfect. So yeah, this way we'll understand what Healthy Crowdfunder is all about.
Hello, everyone. I am Antonio Arias, the CEO of Healthy Crowdfunder. The first crowdfunder focused on financing health wellness and high-tech health ventures.
And I'm Joy Case, the host and CEO of Funded TV, where we have fun talking about crowdfunding.
Listen up, everyone. We got a problem. Healthcare costs globally is up through the roof. We have to come up with solutions. And this is why, with Healthy Crowdfunder, we just want to encourage all the experts out there in health and wellness and high-tech health ventures.
And at Funded TV, we are highlighting Healthy Crowdfunder. We're here to educate everybody.
Yes, here's the deal to all you entrepreneurs. We're inviting you to sign up and get a checklist called Things You Must Do Before You Do Crowdfunding.
And for all of you health-conscious investors, do you want a preview of forthcoming financial opportunities?
Yes.
Would you like to look at those opportunities before we invite other investors or customers to the deal?
Yes.
Then sign up and get your free checklist, things you must do before you buy or invest.
And finally, to all health advisors out there.
Health advisor?
Yes.
What is a health advisor?
Larry Law, my friend, he came up with this word, health advisor. What really is, it is a transition to living from not so healthy to a healthy lifestyle. Who knows, after you change your lifestyle, you might become one of the crowdfunder evangelists.
So start your day watching our health tips. It should be the first thing you do in the morning, as soon as you get up.
Yes. Remember, it takes 21 days before you can change the habit. Yeah.
So, what are you waiting for?
Exactly. Come join the Healthy Crowdfunder.
That was awesome, Antonio. That was really, really great. Give us the piece that's changed. Tell us more about what you do, because that sounds really incredible.
Okay, just to give you some background, Joy and I did that video back in October 2012, thinking that the Title III will be passed around 2013 or much, much earlier, right? So the idea of building a platform is inviting investors on one side and inviting issuers on another side. So that video was meant to encourage the target audience to come in and sign up as we recruit investors as well as entrepreneurs. But you know where Title III is now. It's not there. So I need to update that video and really change it according to the realities of today on Title III or Title II for that matter.
Absolutely, things change so quickly in this industry too. It's with the new industry, everyone's really trying to assess, what should we do in this industry. What is the next big trend and the way to promote something? So you're right. I mean, things change so fluidly. Healthy Crowdfunder, though, it seems really great. It's a socially conscious venture because you're really looking for health tech companies. So can you explore more of really what is your target startup audience that you're trying to reach?
So let's say we launch tomorrow. My first objective is to partially operate in Silicon Valley or San Francisco area. My target are graduates of accelerators like Rock Health out of San Francisco, or Startup Health or Startup Health Accelerator out of New York. So my view is that startup operators, the management who's gone through the accelerator will be better candidates for equity financing or equity crowdfunding. So every now and then I change my word, calling it equity financing as opposed to equity crowdfunding, because if equity crowdfunding doesn't pass or Title III doesn't pass, I'm really going to be looking for companies who are more compatible towards using Reg D Rule 506C, which is strictly accredited investors only. So when you get to that kind of target audience, the criteria or admission criteria becomes even more strict. Okay, so that's why to me the graduates of Accelerator are more valuable. They're more fundable, I should say, because they've gone through the mentoring process and all those critical steps to do before they become fundable.
Excellent. And what is your next step to bring Healthy Crowdfunder forward? Like, what do you need personally to bring your startup on board to actually help other startups raise capital? What is your next step?
My number one step right now is to continue to bootstrap Healthy Crowdfunder while I'm located in Vancouver. But as soon as I get some minimum funding, definitely continue the capital raising in Silicon Valley. We have a minimum viable platform already, but I'm short of marketing capital. That's the key. And I got to emphasize the importance of marketing, whether you're selling a product or raising capital, unless you've done your roadshows online as well as offline, and unless you get some strong indications of investor interest or customer interest, it's a no-go. So by being a member of the Keiretsu Angel, I'm kind of testing my business model and looking for deal flows through the Keiretsu Forum network. For some of you who are not familiar with Keiretsu, it's a network of angels across North America. We belong to the Vancouver, Seattle Keiretsu. So the kinds of businesses that are pitching at Keiretsu could be potential candidates for Healthy Crowdfunder. So in the absence of a platform, I know so many platforms already who's got an equity-based platform in the U.S., in San Francisco, as well as New York. So that could be another way we could help them co-finance and co-develop them to existing platform. In fact, by partnering with Indiegogo, there's a secondary agenda there. If we prove ourselves to be good partners on the pre-sales crowdfunding, who knows, we could be an extension of Indiegogo's equity side of financing. Interesting.
Okay, great. And yeah, I think where you guys are headed is really great on Healthy Crowdfunder. And I agree. I think where all the action is, at least historically and still at least for now, is Silicon Valley. So with your talent, your research, and your skills, I have no doubts that Healthy Crowdfunder will raise the capital. So I'm excited to see, Antonio, what happens next.
Thank you. Lots of hard work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Fabio, you are a representative from the Angel Network. So can you tell us more about what Keiretsu does specifically?
Yes, absolutely. I met Tony at Keiretsu. And basically, Kiretsu has 33 different chapters around the world. So it's basically in 3 continents now, moving to South America soon too. And we have roughly 1,400 angel investors. And deals are done in a very traditional and face-to-face way. The adoption of technology is still not there, and to the level that we would like to see. So, if you want to talk about equity crowdfunding, one of the things that we should be looking at is making people aware of the risks of investing, and it's different than selling. And please don't get me wrong on that. I don't want to offend anyone. That's not my goal at all. It's about bringing awareness and letting people understand that asking people to buy a product online is completely different than asking for their money to be a partner. So when you bring in a partner, there's a high risk on that, and you as an entrepreneur need to be ready to answer some tough questions. You need to be willing to open a lot of your personal background, a lot of your life history as a person to a potential partner that's going to be sharing the destiny of your organization. So yes, it's the process is going slow. Yes, we would like government to get out of the way as fast as we can. But at the same time, when government doesn't step in and do what they're supposed to do, which is regulate the activities of everything, we criticize them. So equity crowdfunding is going to come, whether it's going to come soon or in a few years, it's going to come. It's just a matter of taking the time to do it in the right way. So just to give you an idea, even for angel investors, who are far more educated about finances and all the business side of a company, it's been challenging to adapt to platforms like AngelList, for example, where you have to disclose a lot of information, and people still deal with information from a proprietary perspective. So there's a lot of coaching and understanding that needs to be done, and people like Tony are early evangelists of those platforms. They are suffering a lot because they face a lot of resistance. They have to grow very thick skin to deal with people that, first of all, some of them want to protect their information and protect their niche, right? They have been doing business and making money from people not being aware of deals and deal flows. So when you go online, everything is open and transparent. So you are dealing with a lot of interest. So you have the banks at the other side that are not exactly fond of people getting together and being able to raise 3, 4, 5 million, and things that before were restricted to traditional VCs, and they do operate very close to investment funds, and they do have a high operating cost. So there's a lot of pieces moving, and it's gonna come. The more people are here, the more people are understanding and being aware of that and understanding that this can be an option for them, the better. But raising equity, it's completely different than doing a Kickstarter or eating Indiegogo campaign. So it probably requires 10 times more effort to justify somebody putting money as a partner than it does to sell a battery or clothing or any kind of physical device that you can see, touch, and feel. So it goes deeper. It's far deeper than that. If you have been involved in a due diligence process, and you face a situation of having to tell someone like John that he needs to do things that he doesn't believe that he needs to do because it's his business, you face a lot of challenges, right? Just like having a conversation with the CEO of a company and telling him that his financial reporting is not up to standards, it's not a very nice conversation to have, and people do take it personally. So there's a lot of ground to cover. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share. Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling now.
Oh no! It was no. You said some very important things, and you're right. It is a different ballgame when you're talking about investments. You know, from a startup perspective, it's a lot more disclosure, a lot more work up front from the finance side, from the ability to let people in and see a lot more of who the person is, as you mentioned. So you're right, and so equity is going to be a lot harder to do than rewards and donation, and it's going to cost a lot more money to do as well. So like that's the reality. The cost to do an equity crowdfunding campaign to the startup is not going to be free like potentially a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter or Indiegogo is. It's going to cost a lot of upfront capital to get your books and records in place, to create the business plans. All these things need to be essentially done ahead of time. And actually, let me go through one quick presentation. I call it it's called Crowdfunding and Startups, and it's why venture capitalists should love crowdfunding. I think this is a good place to kind of bring this in there because we just finished with you, Fabio, and you're part of an angel network. So give me a minute while I pull this up here. So this will just be a quick little presentation, but a few slides. But I want to show really why this is something that venture capitalists and angels should love. They shouldn't be really worried about it. So do you guys see this presentation on your screens?
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Sure do.
Great.
Yep.
So we'll just go through this really quickly, and I'll always say again, I gave the metrics. The one thing I didn't tell you was that the World Bank actually, back in November of 2013, they actually estimated that in 20 years, crowdfunding globally will be $95 billion a year raised. So the growth in crowdfunding is at least at its current rates, is just exponentially growing the potential here. So why would people use crowdfunding? We talked about a lot of these, but the banks and VCs are not investing. It could be great for customer validation and proof of concept. I want to make a point too, is that just because you run a crowdfunding campaign once and no one contributed doesn't mean that there's not a market for your product. It could mean that you just didn't market it right. You didn't know how to run a campaign. So I know, Tiffany, that you ran a campaign previously, but you even admitted earlier that when you ran it, you didn't know really anything about crowdfunding. You were just learning, and now you understand what it takes to actually get this done.
Absolutely. Yes, that was exactly the problem.
Yep. So the marketing piece and the awareness of what crowdfunding is, just because you failed your first time, you have to take a good look. You have to ask yourself, did I market it appropriately? Did I know what I was doing? Was there something that I could have done differently to make this come off as a message worth contributing to? These are the questions that really campaigners who've tried before should ask before they give up. Really, it is a great tool to learn marketing, communications, and business development. It forces early adoption of social media and PR because those two elements of crowdfunding are so critical. You instantly go global. The world is your patron. It's depending on the type you're doing, you don't have to give up equity. You could start with the donations and rewards crowdfunding. And this is a piece that I like. It does shift the balance of power a little bit because if startups have this option of funding, they don't necessarily have to enter into a negotiation with a potential investor, in a manner that compromises what they're trying to do. So that's also something there. The benefits to angels and venture capitalists. Now, think of this. Angels and VCs, they aren't wonder people either. The majority of the companies they pick end up failing as well. And so if you think about it, crowdfunding is going to significantly eliminate risk for angels and VCs because now they can actually invest in successful crowdfunding campaigns. So that's really one big reason why angels and VCs should like this. The second reason is, just in case an entrepreneur comes to you, maybe they don't qualify right now for you to invest in them, but if you maintain a good relationship and ask them to prove it through crowdfunding, you then can have them come back to you instead of cutting the cord, so to speak. Another great option for this is maybe there's a seed investment an angel can make so that they can afford to market their company through crowdfunding. So that's another benefit is if you don't want to give them the whole $250,000, why not give a startup $30,000 so that they can actually market their campaign successfully? And then finally, there's tons of economic growth, as noted by Antonio's endeavors. He's creating a company which is going to help other companies raise capital, but he's also going to be hiring entrepreneurs. He's going to be hiring employees. He's contributing to the economic growth. And really, for an angel and a venture capitalist, if they're looking to invest in this ecosystem, they should really look at crowdfunding because it is, a very good ecosystem to invest in. Every campaign, of course, we recommend it needs to be 3 to 6 months of pre-launch activities that they have to go through, and they'll go through what is known as the 9 stages of crowdfunding. You start with your business plan, your intellectual property securing, your social media and public relations strategy, the campaign strategy, which is really the strategic thinking and advisory piece of this. People think like, a business plan is the same thing as a campaign strategy. It's not. The business plan really is assessing what resources you have. The strategy is really how am I going to leverage all the resources I have in order to get the word out across multiple mediums. Networking and team building, of course, which is obviously important. No one can do a crowdfunding campaign alone. It's just, it's especially if it's a campaign that requires a huge sum of capital. Website development. This is really very important. Is how do you ensure you have a strategy for your pre-launch website, your during crowdfunding website, and then your post-launch website? Because when you're done, you also want to be able to provide those services that you used as a crowdfunding reward on your site as an e-commerce site. Your profile and video. How are you going to make people see that you're worth contributing? Do you have a nice video that clearly articulates the who, what, where, when, why, and how? And then fulfillment, of course. If you're making all these promises, then at a minimum, you need to make sure that you understand what the costs to fulfill on this is. And the worst thing that can happen is you renege on those promises, and suddenly you now have a legal issue on your hand, and you're giving the crowdfunding movement a bad name. So, again, I won't go through this. You have rewards, equity, debt, royalty. We have some successful campaigns. I should update this. And since we're talking about venture capital, I will go to one campaign in particular because this one is a pretty cool one. This individual, all right. See, this is the funny thing. I downloaded this Asian social network, and now it's just screwing me up. I think I'm getting hacked by it, but whatever. We'll use it for a second. And so, this wasn't the right project either. But let me actually switch over here real quick. We'll go to Kickstarter directly. And as I bring this one up, this project is from a gentleman from Hartford, Connecticut. I met him in person. Really great guy. Amazing idea. And I'll tell you the story here because, as you can see, it says funding canceled, which is crazy. But let's just tell the story for a second. This gentleman came to me when he was at around $30,000 in funding. He was really, all this was done really just from his traditional network. He didn't have any social media, didn't have any PR, but he managed to raise, when he came to me, about $30,000 just with people who cared about what he was doing. So he had a lot of good, social proof. He then came to me and I said, listen, your campaign's running. I don't really have anything I could do to help you as far as campaigns that are already running, but I can give you a free media list if you give me 5 keywords. And so I just gave him five keywords worth of a media list. I didn't do anything other than just tell him how to, how to approach it a little bit. And then he went on and he ended up raising an additional $38,000 to bring it up to $68,000. When I checked back in to see that he was going to reach his goal, he had 15 days left, and then suddenly I saw funding was canceled. And I said to myself, oh my God, why did he cancel? He was going to make it. So I call him up and I said, Raymond, why did you cancel your crowdfunding campaign? And he looks at me and he's like, Manolis, I was on my way, but I got a call from an angel who said, I love what you're doing, cancel your campaign, here's a check for $100,000. And so this is an example of why angels and VCs are going to love crowdfunding. And let me just play the video so you can see what this is. But the angel also is introducing him to Starbucks as we speak. So you'll see really quick what an amazing transformation this man had because of crowdfunding.
I've always been a frequent coffee shop visitor, whether it's been getting some work done, meeting with friends, or enjoying a nice dark roast in the morning. However, there's one element of coffee shops I never understood, and that's the amount of waste that shops produce on a daily basis from paper coffee sleeve usage. So I decided to do some research and discovered that millions of trees are cut down every year just to make these single-use items served in these establishments. I knew I had to figure a way to transform a product typically viewed as a vehicle of waste into a vehicle of good, and that was the beginning of tree sleeve.
With tree sleeve, we are dealing with the biggest issue currently facing the planet, the safety and the security of our environment. As a team, we believe we can and we should do well by doing good, and it has never been easier for a consumer to do a little thing that makes a big difference. So now, let's take you through the end-to-end process of tree sleeve. Once sugarcane is harvested and processed at the mill, sugar is extracted from the sugarcane stalks and the remaining waste is typically incinerated. However, at tree sleeve, we source the cane waste and transform it into fiberboard, which is used to produce the product. Once a tree sleeve is used, its magic is still at work. The rounded spikes at the top of the product encourage entanglement with trash. Tree sleeves contain what we like to call earth fruit, which is an enzyme that actually speeds up the composting process. These elements help to break down all trash that tree sleeves encounter, leaving an incredibly positive mark on the environment.
From the very first prototype a year ago, tree sleeve has been entirely self-funded. We are now in a position where we have the manufacturers, the tree planters, and most importantly, a superior product design that can help revitalize communities as well as empower coffee shop patrons on a daily basis. However, we can't move forward without your help.
With each pledge, there is an opportunity to gift a set of tree sleeves to your local coffee shop. By doing so, you offer shop owners the opportunity to say goodbye to paper sleeves and offer customers a superior sleeve on the market today. Please help us turn what has been a dream thus far into a reality. Thank you.
So as you guys can see, that was really an amazing success story here for that young gentleman. I mean, he literally is now pitching to Starbucks to determine if they'll take his tree sleeve. So, you know, what do you think of that, Fabio? As an angel investor, what do you think of that?
Very interesting. This is something new for me. If I am the entrepreneur, I would be very careful with the equity that I give. I would make sure that I had someone that I could talk to before accepting an investment, because you never know how much it was given, how much was. The thing is, the earliest you give your equity, you get less for that, right? So if you get a seed money of 100, maybe he got 40% of the company. And maybe after launching, you know, reaching the 100,000 and going to a if you don't know how to do it, you can also hire people in the market that knows how to do it, and pay them distribution fees, finder's fees, whatever you want to pay them, and they will structure your financing. So it's a great story. If I'm getting that kind of traction, I would make sure that I would get into a financing deal that would be more favorable to me, and I would probably look for ways of financing the operation without giving a lot of equity. But Tony is probably someone better than me to, make a comment on that note, because it looks like the ideal scenario where you have investors looking for you, and you may, it's like, excuse my knowledge, but maybe like when you're trying to buy a house, you still go and you look for other houses to see if you find one that's better, or buy a car. So maybe I would just talk to more people and see, not just because I just got a phone call. But that's a good example of how angel investors and VC can use social platforms and crowdfunding platforms to find products. That's great. Good example.
Absolutely. Antonio, did you want to weigh in on that as well?
Well, what's missing is the information of, for 100,000, what equity did he sell for? Was it 10% or 20% of his company, or whatever? But what's important is that he got the interest of potentially a professional investor who might know something about the market. And again, something's missing there. If that investor, for example, has got a connection with the purchasing department of Starbucks, maybe he's onto something.
Sure.
So it's hard to say with limited data.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't know the specifics of the deal, but the way that I operate is I'd rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing. And so, if he's going to get a deal with Starbucks, that's going to be a big 50% of something. So I would, especially if that was a legitimate connection, and I was a startup, and I said, okay, so I'm making maybe 100,000 a year in revenue. This guy can almost guarantee me that I have this Starbucks contract, and obviously it would be contingent on getting that contract, or that contract based on the equity that you would give him. But hell, if I was only making 100,000 in revenues, and I had to give away 60% of my company to make maybe 50 million in revenues, I don't know. What would you guys do? I think for most people that would be an easy choice. Yes, I'll take it. Unless the person was going to fundamentally just destroy the vision of the company that they were going to do. But I don't know. That's just how I think of it.
It could be a form of acqui-hire.
Yes, exactly. Great. Well, guys, does anyone else have any specific questions? We've been on for about an hour and 45 minutes, so we could wrap up unless anyone has any other questions. Tiffany, do you have anything?
No, I actually don't have any questions. I got a lot of information, from the panel. So thank you very much.
Cool. Great. Then yes, we'll just go down the line. You guys can give your last words, and then we'll sign off. So Antonio, any last words for the audience?
Yes, connect with me through LinkedIn and go to our landing page called healthycrowdfunder.com. Our blog site also gives you some insight on our mission and values. That's it.
Excellent. And Fabio?
Yeah, connect on LinkedIn. Last word would be always revalidate if you get an investment offer, or if you get any kind of service offer for exchange of anything in your company. Make sure that you ask a second or third opinion, because there's a lot of deals going on. People like to do deals. Just make sure that you get proper advice. And if you're growing, get a good accountant, get a good insurance, get a good lawyer. Make sure that you protect yourself from liability and everything, and be ready for the moment when somebody approaches you to invest, so that you have all the background information to do that. Whether it's crowdfunding, equity, or angel, or a private equity fund approaching you, just make sure that you're ready for that, and always double check.
Excellent. John, any last words from your end?
I'll echo the same thing Tiffany said. Learned a lot here today, took a lot of notes, and I've got a lot of valuable information. This is definitely worthwhile. Matter of fact, while I was while you were showing a couple of your I did have a question for you. The last PowerPoint presentation you showed us, is that available online anywhere to look at?
Yes. If you were to go to Reality Crowd TV /education, or just go to realitycrowdtv.com and you'll see the education tab.
Okay.
I have those. I have 3 slide shares with 3 different presentations that are free. You just go on there and you could look at them right from the site.
Okay. As we were going on, I actually emailed 3 of my clients to tell them, you guys need to check this out. Okay. So, because a lot of times, what I find in my business is that people have these wonderful ideas, and they have all the passion and desire. And echo something Fabio said, that boy, you get into somebody's business and you start to ask them a lot of questions, and you would think that they were thinking you wanted to take their child and run away with it. They can get very, very offended. I think this is a tool that's just, people need to know more about this.
Absolutely.
So thank you for having me.
Pleasure, John. Thank you. And
just one last thing before I forget. Sorry about that. I would like to thank you for setting this up. I mean, I forgot to thank you. That's very, very cool. Very nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Fabio. No, thank you for that. Pleasure to have you all here. And Tiffany, any last words from you?
Thank you very much for having me on again. I'll probably be on again at some point, I'm sure. I think I'm ready to rock and roll now with the information I have. I don't think that I'll be doing equity because, I'm actually being prepared for equity crowdfunding right now because I'm compiling my team at this point. But yes, the first round, I'm ready with the information that I've gathered from here.
Awesome, Tiffany. I'm excited for you. I really think that that Bebe Pod Fans is a great product. So it's going to do well on the rewards-based crowdfunding side. So again, thank you for joining us as usual. Everyone, the audience, thank you so much for watching. Without you, we couldn't put on this show. And until next time, dream it, believe it, achieve it. Thank you so much.